Hey ladies and gentlemen, Stephen here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it and I hope that this video finds you well. In today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at one of the newest releases by the company Dua Fragrances. This one actually came out last week and it was sent to me about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. And this one by the company Dua Fragrances is called Moda Elixir. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my fragrance review of Moda Elixir by Dua Fragrances, and this is their version of Creed Aventus, and I'll tell you what's so special about this one and why I think it's actually a little bit different from Creed's Aventus. I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews just like this, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, and pretty much anything having to do with fragrances, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner, and of course while you're at it, please make sure to enable notifications by clicking on that bell icon. This way, whenever I do publish these videos, they will get delivered straight to your feed. So as I'm sure you know, Dua Fragrances has a series called Poseidon's Elixir, and they have several iterations of this Poseidon's Elixir fragrance, which is basically their hand at cloning Creed's Aventus. Now I'm sure you know there are a lot of brands, yes, even some very well-known niche brands that have put out their own version of Creed Aventus because, as I'm sure you know, this is a very successful DNA. The pineapple, the apple, the black currant, the birch tar, the rose, the jasmine, the vanilla in the base with the cedar wood. It's such an iconic fragrance. Even designer brands, right? Like Explorer by Montblanc. So all of these companies have put out their version of Creed Aventus, and of course Dua said, hey, we're going to do it as well, especially considering the fact that they are a clone brand, despite the fact that they also put out a ton of original fragrances with Encounter Scents. They also put out a lot of original fragrances under the Dua brand, and they have also put out hybrids and tribrids and quadbrids, and they just get pretty crazy when it comes to creating their own inspirations of fragrances. And here we have one that is supposed to be a modern and contemporary look at Creed Aventus because it contains ambroxan crystals and juniper berry, but half of the composition, and I think it's half, is their take on a batch of Creed Aventus that came out in 2011, which is one of the brand's most well-known batches, and it is also said to be one of the smokier batches that actually had a lot of birch tar in it, and that's the 2011 Z01 batch. I'm really excited to give you my thoughts of this fragrance, but let's start things off with the presentation. So the box for this fragrance is very, very nice. You can tell this is a big step up and an upgrade from their previous presentations. You have this very sturdy material that houses the bottle, just has Moda Elixir here on the front. And the back of the box just has the concentration and all of the ingredients. The box opens up vertically to reveal the silhouette in which the bottle rests. And the bottle for this fragrance is really heavy, really nice presentation. It has a bit of a fade, and it also has the gold foil here on the front with the Dua logo and Moda Elixir written towards the bottom. Nothing going on at the bottom. And I also really like the cap for this fragrance as well, a little reminiscent of Ormond Jane. This is a snug fit, so you can pick it up from the cap. And the distribution on the atomizer, incredibly wide. It has a pressurized atomizer. Let's continue with the smell. So as soon as this fragrance opens up, you are going to get a lot of that pineapple note. Now, as I'm sure you know, whenever it comes to Creed Aventus or any Aventus inspirations, if you will, whether we're talking about Explorer by Montblanc or even America by Perry Ellis or even a number of niche fragrances like Vespero by Jeroboam, a lot of these companies that have taken that Aventus gene and really tried to turn it into something of their own, which of course they're free to do, I feel like the pineapple really dominates. And there's no exception when it comes to this fragrance. As a matter of fact, when you smell it, the first thought that's going to pop in your mind is, oh, Creed Aventus, right? So it has become one of these utterly recognizable smells that have been done interminably, it seems, but there's still an appeal for it. And I know there are still lovers of Aventus who wear the fragrance religiously, and I know myself personally, I love wearing it. You guys know the extent to which I admire and adore the original Creed Aventus, which is why I've probably purchased about 6 or 7 bottles in the past 10 years, right? But in the case of this fragrance, I do find that it goes in this much brighter and fresher direction on account of the fact that this is supposed to be kind of a modern take on Creed Aventus. So there is this added note of juniper berry and also ambroxan crystals. In the case of ambroxan, I'm sure many of you know, it is a synthetic molecule, and it's the synthetic counterpart of the natural ambergris, which is found floating in the middle of the ocean. It's harvested by sea farmers. It's made as a result of, regurgitation from sperm whales, and it's not necessarily the most enticing ingredient when you put it that way, but it does have this very sort of marine, oceanic, and salty odor profile, if you will. And in the case of this fragrance, it adds this freshness to the fragrance that I don't think necessarily is found in Aventus. So I like the fact that they're taking that Aventus DNA, but also trying to make it original in a sense. And I do find there is still this smoky element from that 2011 batch, which is also utilized in here, the Z01 batch. And I feel like the birch tar that's used in this fragrance is not overly domineering or overly assertive. It's in there, it's in the background, it makes its presence known, but I don't think it's the smokiest Aventus rendition that I've smelled in either a designer fragrance, a niche fragrance, or any clone from the brand. I do find that it's still rather tame, and the pineapple and the freshness really dominates in this fragrance. So for those of you who are not familiar with Aventus and what it smells like, basically in the opening, it opens up with pineapple, apple, and black currant, kind of providing this fruity medley. Of course, there's also bergamot, which is one of the sole citrus ingredients found in here. And then in the heart, it transitions into this jasmine and rose kind of a fragrance. I know jasmine is formally listed as a note, and it does have this clean billowy heart, and then in the base you have this vanilla and cedarwood combination with a little bit of patchouli, but mostly vanilla, kind of adding this sweetness to the fragrance. And I feel like the vanilla is really brought to the fore a lot more in the recent batches of Creed Aventus. Ultimately, if you're looking for a fresher version of Aventus that still has a little bit of birch tar in the base, I would definitely recommend that you check this one out. I feel like with a lot of people, they smell the recent batches of Creed Aventus and that sort of amplified vanilla that's in there. It makes them miss some of the older batches. Like myself personally, I purchased this in 2011, purchased it again in 2012. I think I might have skipped a year, purchased it again in 2014. And so I do certainly miss some of these older batches that had a lot of that birch in it. But I know there's also a lot of love for people who enjoy the recent batches with that sweet undercurrent. And so if you're looking for a fresher take on Creed Aventus with just a little bit of birch in the background, I do find that this is an awesome fragrance. I feel like you're going to really enjoy this one. Perfect for the office. Definitely a versatile fragrance all year round, all seasons, all occasions. And I do find that the presentation is really awesome for this one. The concentration and everything going for it, it's a really, really solid alternative. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I can't quite consider this a unique fragrance because it is unquestionably inspired by Creed's Aventus. But in terms of the overall smell, I do like the fact that they modernized it a little bit with the juniper berry and the ambroxan crystals. And of course, Creed Aventus has a DNA that is unquestionably the king when it comes to receiving and garnering compliments. And I really don't think that this fragrance is any exception. It smells incredibly pleasant. It smells very, very good. Definitely in the vein of Creed Aventus. So if you're familiar with how that fragrance smells, you're going to get something very, very similar here, all the while striking a balance between their modern twist on Creed Aventus, but also one of the established DNAs from an older batch, which is the 2011 Z01 batch. In terms of the longevity for this fragrance, it is extrait de parfum strength. So the perfumer slash creative director himself told me that he does concentrate all of the fragrances at 33% strength. So you can expect this one to last quite a long time on your skin. And for me personally, I do get 8 to 10 hours. And in terms of projection, it will radiate within an arm's length for the first 2.5 to 3 hours of application. It doesn't become a skin scent until the 7-hour mark. So the performance for this one is very, very good. And then versatility. I've always considered the original Creed Aventus to be one of the most versatile fragrances out there. And again, I could say the same about this one. You can wear this one dressed up, dressed down. As a matter of fact, I would be more inclined to wear this casually than Creed Aventus because Creed Aventus is a lot more expensive. You know, it's about $450 American if you are going to buy it at the retail price. This one, I think it's in the wheelhouse of $150, but they're always running promotions over the weekend. So if you can pick it up at a discounted price, I would say definitely go for it. You're going to get a very strong fragrance and something, of course, that smells very similar to the original Creed Aventus, all the while modernizing it, but also adding that birch in there that fans of Creed Aventus who have been loving the fragrance for the past decade, they always speak highly about that birch note. I think that this one does lean masculine, of course, and I think that this one would work well in all seasons. In terms of the presentation, really massive upgrade here. I'm really enjoying all of the components of the presentation here. My final verdict on Moda Elixir is I personally love the fragrance. I'm a huge fan of Creed Aventus. I've said this an interminable amount of times on my channel before, and of course this one is no exception because it bears those similarities to the original Creed Aventus. I will be finding myself wearing this one quite often, and I also like the fact that it's kind of a marriage of the modern but also the vintage style of Creed Aventus with that amplified birch note. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my review of Moda Elixir by Dua Fragrances. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please do go ahead and let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, again, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would really appreciate it if you could consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Just click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, be sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell. Thanks again for watching. I love you all. We'll see you next time. Bye.